It was nearly closing time at Harrow Pharmaceutical's flagship store, the pristine and glassy building nestled in the heart of downtown. The marble floors glistened under the lights. Shelves lined with tightly stacked medicine, supplements, and luxury wellness products. Most of the day's staff had clocked out, but a few employees remained tired, checking their watches, ready to go home. At the far end of the store, a man in a grey trench coat stood at the pharmacy counter, tapping his fingers impatiently. He looked respectable, neat haircut, designer shoes, and a confident aura. The kind of man you wouldn't look twice at. The kind of man who could blend in perfectly. Prescription for Alan Morris, he said smoothly, handing over a slip of paper. The pharmacist glanced at it, nodded, and disappeared into the back. Meanwhile, a little girl, maybe 6 years old, stood by the toy display. Clutching a stuffed unicorn with a missing button eye, she wore a second-hand dress and scuffed shoes, and her long dark hair had been tied into twin braids that looked like they had seen better days. She didn't seem to belong there. Her clothes were too worn, her presence too quiet. No one noticed her, not until she walked toward the man at the counter and whispered in a trembling voice, "That's not his medicine." The words were barely audible. The pharmacist didn't hear her. The man stiffened. The girl's eyes locked onto him, accusing and haunted. "Excuse me," the man asked, eyes narrowing. She blinked, stepping back. "I'm sorry," she mumbled. Before anyone could react, she turned and darted away, slipping out the automatic doors into the night. Inside the office several floors above, Jeremy Roston, the CEO of Harrow Pharmaceutical, stood alone, tired and drained. His tailored suit felt heavier than usual. His company had just closed one of the biggest wellness tech deals in the nation. The media loved him. Wall Street hailed him. But Jeremy hadn't smiled in days. His assistant buzzed in. "Sir, there was a strange incident downstairs just now. I think you should see it." Moments later, Jeremy stood before a security screen with his arms folded. "Play it back," he said. The footage rewound. First, there was the man in the coat. Then the little girl appeared, so small she was almost missed by the camera. She whispered something to him. "Zoom in," Jeremy said. They did. Though her lips moved quietly, the system's lip-reading AI caught it. "That's not his medicine." Jeremy's brow furrowed. The girl looked familiar somehow. "Who is she?" he asked. "No idea. She just walked in. No parents. Security thought she was homeless." Jeremy narrowed his eyes. "Get me every angle. I want to see what she looked at, what she saw." They pulled more footage. The man had picked up a prescription morphine sulfate, a heavy pain medication, and signed off with a forged ID. But there it was, a micro-movement, almost imperceptible. As the pharmacist turned, the man quickly swapped labels, placing an identical bottle with a different barcode into the bag. His hand moved like a magician's. Jeremy's stomach dropped. "That girl saw it," he whispered, "across town, in the rain-soaked alley behind an old laundromat." The little girl sat on a flattened cardboard box, curled up in a thin blanket. She stared at the unicorn in her lap. Her name was Leela. She didn't know where her mom was anymore. All she remembered was the hospital, then the strangers, and finally nothing. She had followed the man from the shelter's outreach van. She'd seen him take something from the hospital weeks ago, too. She didn't know what he was doing. Not really. But she knew that he kept taking the wrong medicine. And sometimes, people didn't wake up after. Suddenly, a sleek black car pulled up. Leela froze, ready to run. But the driver opened the door gently, and out stepped a man in a suit. His eyes were kind, confused and searching. "Leela," He said, crouching down. "Is that your name?" She nodded slowly. "My name is Jeremy. I think you saved someone's life tonight." Back in the corporate offices, Jeremy wrapped a towel round Lila's small shoulders. She looked out of place sitting in the giant leather chair, but she looked brave, even in silence. "Do you know that man?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "He came to the hospital where my mommy was. I saw him with someone's medicine bottle. Then she didn't wake up. Then he was gone. Today, I saw him again." Jeremy sat back, stunned. His mind raced. The company's tracking flagged a few prescription anomalies the last couple of months, but they were brushed off as clerical errors. Nobody suspected foul play. Until now. Jeremy had the bottle the man left. He ran it through the corporate trace system. The barcode belonged to an entirely different medication used for terminal patients, overdosing on. It was almost always fatal. The implications hit him like a truck. Someone had been switching medications to cover illegal euthanasia, or worse, covering up organ thefts, or within his company's supply chain. And the only person who'd notice was a homeless 6-year-old girl with braids and broken shoes. Within hours, Jeremy launched a full internal investigation. He worked through the night with legal teams, compliance auditors, and forensic analysts. They uncovered weeks' worth of tampered prescriptions, all routed through one facility. That facility's night manager was Alan Morris, the same name. The man had used by sunrise. Rests had been made. An underground network of black market pharma deals had been exposed. The ring had been operating in the shadows for months, possibly years. Jeremy stood in his office with Lila once more. He offered her hot chocolate with whipped cream piled high. She smiled. "Just a little, Lila," he said, kneeling beside her. "You've helped us more than you know." She shrugged. "Mommy always said if something feels wrong, say it." He looked at her seriously. "Do you know what happens now?" She shook her head. "I'd like to help you. A real home school. Whatever you need. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to help find your mom." Her eyes filled with tears. "You can do that." "I'll try," he whispered. "I promise." Weeks passed. Leela moved into a warm guest suite in Jeremy's estate while social workers searched for her mother. Jeremy, now publicly hailed as a whistleblower hero, used his newfound spotlight to talk about Leela, about the overlooked, about the ones no one listened to. She saw what no adult did. He told the press. "She reminded me what conscience looks like." Donations poured in. A foundation was set up in Lila's name for children in shelters, for better surveillance in hospitals, for safeguarding medication trails. And one rainy morning, as Lila was coloring in the library, a woman burst through the double doors here. Mercy, eyes frantic, hospital bracelet still wrapped round her wrist. Lila looked up. The crayon dropped from her fingers. "Mommy." They collided in a tearful embrace, falling to their knees in the marble hallway. Jeremy watched from the doorway, arms crossed over his chest, a lump rising in his throat. He turned to his assistant and whispered, "Best investment I've ever made." And from that day forward, a little girl who whispered the truth changed an empire, and in the heart of a corporate titan, something long frozen began to beat again.